All right, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, the past couple weeks of math class, we've been talking about fractions. Who can remind me what a fraction is? Or an example of a fraction? Yeah?
Like eating half of something, or like splitting the classroom up into fours or something, as long as it's equal parts.
Exactly, so a fraction is a part of a whole.
Yes.
Correct. So we've talked about the fractions between 0 and 1. We've talked about halves, we've talked about thirds, we've talked about fourths, all of those fractions. What are some different ways that fractions look? Like, could you see them as pictures or numbers?
Yes.
Yeah? What's an example of a way you could draw a fraction?
Could cut something in half.
Like a
Cut
pizza.
something in half?
Yeah.
So if we were talking about 1/3, we could draw a pizza, separate it into thirds, and shade one portion to show 1/3 of a pizza, correct? Okay, so today we're going to talk about a different way of looking at fractions, but we're going to read a story called Jump Kangaroo Jump first to get us thinking a little bit more about fractions. So, this is called Jump Kangaroo Jump by Stuart J. Murphy. "It's field day," yelled Kangaroo. There were 12 campers in all, a kookaburra, an emu, 2 platypuses, 3 koalas, 4 dingoes, and Kangaroo himself. They warmed up as they waited for Ruby, the kangaroo counselor, to start the events. Finally, Ruby blew her whistle and said, "We need 2 teams for tug-of-war. Let's split the group into halves so that each team has the same number of campers." They counted off into 2 teams. So if there's 12 campers and they're splitting into halves, how many do you think there will be on each team?
6.
6. Very good. There were 6 campers on each team. Since each team had half of the campers, 6 is half of 12. The campers tugged and grunted, and then they tugged some more. Both teams tugged very hard. For a while, it looked like Kangaroo's team might win, but with one giant tug, the other team won instead. Again, Ruby's whistle blew. Now it's time for the swimming relay race. There are 3 lanes in the pool. Let's split into thirds so that we have an equal number of campers for each lane. They counted off into 3 teams. So if there's 3 teams, how many campers would be on each team if we have 12 campers total?
Well, we had 6 before on each team. So if we take 6,
3
it
minutes.
would be 4.
4. Very good. Each team had 1/3 of the campers. 4 is 1/3 of 12. They kicked and they splashed, and then they kicked some more. All the campers swam just as fast as they could. This time, Kangaroo's team came in second. "Okay, everyone," Ruby yelled, and then blew her whistle extra loud. "Let's line up for the last event of the day, the long jump. This time, you're on your own." Each camper took a turn jumping. Finally, it was Kangaroo's turn. Everyone yelled, "Jump, Kangaroo, jump." He closed his eyes, sprang forward on his big hind legs, and jumped as far as he could. Kangaroo looked around in surprise as everyone cheered. Then Ruby announced, "Kangaroo not only won the long jump, he set a new camp record. Hooray for Kangaroo." The end. So that was a little book about fractions, and I have a little challenge. If there was 12 campers and Kangaroo won the long jump contest, what fraction of the campers would Kangaroo be? Anyone?
1.
12.
Yeah.
1/12.
Okay,
Very
I
good.
thought-
Very good.
I was,
Okay, so now we are going to talk about a different way that you can look at fractions. We've talked about a number line with whole numbers and how you can show numbers on a number line. So now we're going to talk about where you would put fractions. So Do I have a volunteer who thinks they could find the correct placement for the fraction 1/2? Me. Come on up. Sure, yeah, you can take it up.
About right there.
Yeah, that's good of a guess. So 1/2 would go where? Right in the middle of 0 and 1, correct?
Yes.
Now, how did you know that?
Because we split the campers up into half. So if we have 6 of them over here and 6 of them over here, they have to be equal distances apart.
Very good. So with 1/2, you know it goes directly between 0 and 1. What can we look at this denominator of 2 and know? How many sections of the number would there be if our denominator is 2?
2, 1, 2.
2. Very good. You can have a seat. Okay. Now we are going to talk about fourths. Does anyone know where they could place the number 1/4?
Me.
Very good. And how did you know that's where it went?
Because in the story we split the group into 4 parts, and so then there has to be 3, 2, 3. That's what that was.
So 3/4 would go there. Very good. So this denominator of 4 shows what?
But there's 4 parts.
There's 4 parts. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Very good. You can sit down. Okay. So we've got our half and our fourths figured out. Now it's kind of the tricky one. What about thirds? Does anyone know where they could put 1/3 and 2/3?
But we have to have 3 parts.
3 parts. So this one's a little bit harder to divide up. You might not know exactly, but in our case, we'll just kind of make an estimated guess of how big 1/3 would be. Do I have a volunteer?
Sure.
Thanks.
So like, they all have to be equal, so about like there?
Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Yeah, pretty good. So we have 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. Very good. So we know a couple things about number lines. We know when we're dividing, putting the fractions up, that all parts have to be equal. And this denominator number gives us the number of how many different parts there'll be on our number line. So now that we've done that, we're going to split into our math groups that we've been working in this year and do a little extra practice. I've made a number line for each group that's laminated, and I'll give you some markers, and I will put a fraction on the board. As a group, discuss how many parts your number line would be broken up into and where you would place the fraction that's given.